Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to today's video. Today we'll be talking about how honesty hurts you. We're going to talk about the consequences of it and how it's constantly being promoted in the society, as well as the idea of being yourself. I also apologize for not uploading during the new year. I got sick and been super busy, but it's nice to be back. So being honest means telling the truth no matter what, and letting people know your opinions and thoughts and facts on the matter or subject at hand. But what people don't talk about is when you do this, it's painful. It's lonely. People don't like you. You might lose a lot of friends and benefits and the respect of others because you're being honest. When you tell the truth, what you're doing is you're acting out of the pattern people recognize you by. People recognize me by men. I have a set patterns of behaviors, an attitude, a vibe. And if I deviate from that, people don't typically like that, especially if we've built friend groups and social bonds based on the shared ideas and values and morals that we have. But as you grow up, you consistently change, especially in the Asian culture and Gen Z/early millennials. We've been taught to be people pleasers. The idea of put your head down, value people's opinion, and try to blend in. Don't cause any issues. But when you start speaking out, people won't like that. You're acting out of character. And to the extent that if you were really honest, you would lose a lot of friends, a lot of respect. You might even lose your job because people won't like that. We all have opinions, and a lot of people get offended by that. And our society and culture does not take criticism well. A specific example is, when you start outgrowing your friends start doing dumb things, and you're being honest, and you're like, hey, I don't really like the way you think. I don't really like the way you're presenting yourself. And you start being honest instead of saying, yeah, that's super cool, dude. People probably won't invite you out again. So now you've felt lost. You've lost your friends, you lost your group, and you're now alone. And you're probably in a cognitive dissonance about who you are because you're growing into yourself. You're learning and discovering the voice. But because that skill is so underdeveloped, you don't really know who you are. And by being honest, you've moved yourself from this complacent, safe blanket to a new place where it's unknown. No one really knows who you are or what you stand for, and you don't even know where you're going. But the path of discovery is a part of maturing, and you'll find your tribe and group at the end. But it's very painful. You kind of have to be a masochist to keep pushing yourself into discomfort. We all know that human beings suck at long-term gratification. We want the short term. We want the easy, non-stressful thing. Because why would you want people to not like you? That really goes against our ingrained behaviors. We need people to like us because it meant survival. And when people don't like us, that means we're being ostracized, criticized, we're getting pushed to be part of the out-group. We're being social pariahs. And what this means is we no longer have the support of our friends, and you are alone, and that equals death. That's absolutely terrifying. So why do people keep promoting this idea? What they really mean is, by having the courage to be yourself, you discover parts of yourself that you did not know. And that's part of maturing. And by doing this, you'll find the people that are more in line with your values. And what your values are will continually change, but you'll have ideas and beliefs that will stick to you, and they're uniquely you. But in order to grow and be a competent individual adult, you have to grow away from the crowd. We're always supported by the people below or with us. We're supported by our friend group, our teachers, our peers, but venturing out into the unknown is a terrifying endeavor, but there's no way but doing so. There have been many times in my personal life where I looked around and said, I absolutely hate what's around me. I don't like the people I'm with. And the idea of being alone was no longer that bad, because I hated the people I was around. So I was being more honest about their beliefs, and it didn't really put me in a good position. For example, in early high school, I was hanging out with the stoners and the emo kids and stuff like that, kind of the rejects, because there's really no one else to hang out with. So the idea of acceptance meant more than being alone, because when you're alone, you got bullied, you got picked on, and, being ostracized in your early adolescence absolutely destroys self-esteem and belief and joy. So you hang out with the losers. But eventually, as I got older, I was like, I really don't like any of you guys. And I cut off a ton of friendships. It got to the point where the environment I was at completely sucked. So I transferred high schools halfway through, and I put myself in a new environment. I was really alone now, right? I was in this comfortable environment where I could have just continued. But by taking that leap of faith to learn who I am, allowed me to grow further and further. Allowed me to get a full ride scholarship to go to California, where I repeated it again. And once I completed my endeavors in college in California, I went to the East Coast in Maryland. And I did it again. It's been a continual cycle of my life of leaving the past behind and moving forward with the new, and it's always terrible and hard in the beginning. It's never easy. I remember going to high school when I transferred, like having no friends, being the new kid, completely new environment. The school's like twice the size of mine. It was difficult. I'm glad I did because I met some pretty good buddies at the time that had my back. But then eventually I grew and I started being more honest and I was tired of being complacent. So I left and went to California. I felt like I maxed out my life, the chapter of my life in Denver. I really feel like I got everything I needed from that area and I really didn't want to go back. But here I am, a poor kid from Colorado, in San Luis Obispo, California, hanging out with very wealthy kids from California that come from Palo Alto, Los Gatos, San Diego, all that fun stuff, LA, NorCal, San Francisco. Yeah, I really felt like the scholarship kid and had a hard time, but I found some really good friends that supported me during the time. It's always the same repetitive cycle, but I'm always new because I grow and I learn new parts about myself. And when I graduated college, I was kind of getting fed up with that culture. I really was. So I left. I went to the East Coast and started new. And just during the middle of the pandemic, I just got broken up by my girlfriend. I remember how hard that was. It was really lonely. You're stuck inside. Everywhere closed at like 8 p.m. Everyone's afraid of you. Yeah, it was a really bad time. So I spent a lot of time alone, and I was very depressed. But I have faith in God or the universe, and no matter what happened, the path would reveal itself. And I'm continually on that path. Because eventually I moved apartments. From College Park, Maryland, I moved to Chevy Chase. And in the first place, my apartment wasn't perfect. So I kept moving. I realized if there's any point in my life where there's discomfort, the environment really sucked. It means something needed to change. I could no longer continue. Like persevering through something is important, but if the environment is so toxic it does not lead you to your destination in which you belong, you need to switch and get out of it because otherwise you're wasting precious time. There's absolutely no point to sit in something and be like, well, another day, another week. Why? Why is that? There's some times where it's like you don't have any better options and you have to wait a little bit, but when there's an inkling of truth, you have to hop on it. And sometimes life happens in ways you don't expect. It's never when you're ready. You're ready to leave mentally, but when the opportunity comes, you have to take it because those opportunities will leave. Because when I was back at my mom's place after I graduated college in the middle of the pandemic, I really didn't have any options. I was applying to a lot of jobs, reaching out to my network and family and friends to find a job. I got broken up with by my college girlfriend, who I thought I loved dearly. Definitely didn't, looking back. I just hung out and read books, and I just it was a weird time. It was a weird time. I didn't have a job. I was unemployed, living in my mom's basement, playing Call of Duty, going on 7-mile walks every single day into the wilderness. But then eventually when I got that call to move to Maryland for my consulting job, I just took it on a leap of faith that things would work out, and always has. So when I eventually moved to Chevy Chase from College Park, College Park was not a great area to live in. First apartment didn't work out, so I moved again. And this apartment was beautiful. It was everything I needed. And because of that apartment, I started to feel more relaxed and I started interacting with my immediate environment. And I met this girl downstairs studying for med school. She was in the Army. It wasn't Hadley. Ended up being Hadley's best friend at the time, who set me up with her on a date. And moving forward, we're now engaged. But the truth is, I had to be honest with myself. And by being honest with myself, I was learning to be myself because I didn't know what that meant. For the longest time, I had a facade. I have a persona that I adopted in order to survive in this world because you wanted the approval from your parents and society and your teachers. It's necessary and needed. You can't really do that until you have your own financial means to support yourself. Because living with your parents, it might be free. You're still paying it with your mental health. I know a lot of people live with their parents for free, and it's a good position, but you're paying with it with your mental health. You'll know what I mean. But once you leave and live by yourself, you have the ability to kind of be more honest, and you can start decorating the way you want to. You can start hosting people and being yourself, listening to music. You don't have the parents above you, and you start learning what it means. But as you grow and accumulate wealth, and if you get to the point where you no longer need an employer, because you can't really be yourself truly until you are financially independent, because you may have opinions that may stir the pot, that may offend people. We all have to put a mask on to be civil with each other. I'm not saying you can't be a nice, kind person, but, we all have different opinions that some people get offended by and they come out and attack you. Once you're financially independent, you can really speak your mind if you're no longer dependent on a W-2 or your employer. Even if you're self-employed, you have clients. You need them and your relationship to fund your life. But being honest, there's no other way around it. Because either you'll live your entire life as an imposter or someone who has played it safe, or take that risk and realize at the end you did your best and you had a very great, beautiful life. There are hardships, there's ups and downs, but that made the story even better. And trust me, some of the downs, low points in my life have been absolutely awful, and I couldn't wait for that chapter to end. But that next chapter of my life where it was a little more steady, a little better, it couldn't have been possible without that because I didn't have contrast or perspective. And a lot of the goals I made, a lot of the goals I had was during those times of the dark night of the soul. I had a lot of aspirations and dreams when I was living in Section 8, when I was homeless, when I was hungry, when I was cold, when I was depressed. A lot of my dreams came from there because I had this grit and determination where I was like, look, this may suck for a very long time and have every odds and statistic probability I'm going to fail. But for some reason, I just never gave up. And through God and the universe and some hard work, a lot of hard work, God, I was so burnt out from working so hard, and some luck, it worked out. I'm not going to say that everyone can do it. Statistically speaking, most people won't get out of poverty. But if you take that chance on yourself, you might make it. And that's very fulfilling. And maybe this is the advice that I wanted to hear when I was 15, struggling, was I don't have all the answers. I know what you're going through is a very difficult time. And learning to be yourself will come with immediate harsh consequences and will only exacerbate the problem of being lonely. But long term, it'll save you. If you have any fighting chance, it's going to be by being honest. If you want to talk about this further, please email me. It's in the description below. If you want to see what I'm up to, follow me on Instagram. As always, I wish you guys best. Peace out. Namaste.